The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
If you want to know where the storm rolls next, you got to read the clouds over old Midwest. Every yard, every basket, every mat that's worn, you learn to see the future by tracking the storm. We're tracking the storm, watching it form, from Jack Trice's courage to the heroes yet born. Hilton lights shining like lightning in the night. Jack Trice way, glowing in the stadium lights. From the sweat in the barn to the roar in the stands, every cyclone story's written in the land. Yeah, the path gets clearer with each legend swarm. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Dwayne Crutchfield, pounding turf like rain. Big 8 Saturdays, driving through the pain. 2 years, rushing past 1,000 on the ground. Made the whole conference feel that thunder sound. Then Troy Davis hit the hole like a flash. Back to back 2,000, turn records into ash. Heisman nights, but win or lose that day, the cyclone in his chest never blew away. Seneca rolled out, crowd holding its breath. The run cut like lightning through Texas.
Well, looky there. The second episode of Tracking the Storm. We've made it with a little bit of delay, huh, Kent?
We have. Technology is sometimes pretty tough. Sometimes
Right.
it's when you're doing it remotely and from living rooms and hotels and on the road, and you connect with your guests. That makes it a little tough sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have a little technical difficulty, but we'll get Coach Walden on here as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Amen.
What a crazy time for college football. It's
Unbelievable.
unlike anything we've ever experienced on any level. And it's sad. It's sad, man. It's sad.
I
know
was
you have
at
a
the
lot of
Rose
thoughts.
Bowl. I was at the Rose Bowl on Thursday. And, 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was, IU was 3-9. They'd had 2 winning seasons in 25 years. And he shows up utilizing the portal. I guess the good part of the portal, or the good part of what's going on with that is, hey, here's Indiana that's now has the largest alumni base in the United States. It has over 800,000 living alumni. People that have decided that they're going to kick money into this program. They have a statewide healthcare program, the IU Health program. They've got Mark Cuban. They've got countless other people that are able to kick money into this thing. And all of a sudden, they're not the doormat of college football. They were the worst football program in all of college football. And now they're sitting on the precipice of being the national champion in 2 years. I mean, Google me, I win is true, but I mean the fact that the good and the bad of the portal is you've got opportunities to. You look at Indiana. I mean, holy cow! Indiana. If you rated, I saw a thing on Indiana and Alabama, and if you took the 2 major sports, Indiana football, Alabama basketball, and Indiana basketball, and you rated those 4 and who's the best, IU football would be number 1. Alabama basketball would be number. I mean, it's crazy what's happened in sports. To your point, absolutely insane. So
it is. So you got to admire, Indiana coach Signetti, what he's done. I mean, if you think about it, it's not a fluke. I mean, it's the last 2 years, and the way they play, they are so disciplined, and they're tough. They're disciplined. He lets them play. They're not out there thinking. They're out there flying around, and it's amazing what they do. And they have a chip on their shoulder. And I'm sure you were at the Rose Bowl. I'm sure that carries out into their fan base too. I mean, they have this little chip, and they were not going to take their foot off the gas against Indiana or against Alabama.
he did a sprint out.
Shocking.
He ran a sprint out with a 25-yard out in the fourth quarter when they were up 31-3. I mean, they're gonna beat their brains in if they could beat their brains in, which is, you love to see it. I mean, you go win a game, go take it from them, and just take the life out of people. Alabama had no answer, and you look at what they've done. It's really remarkable. And then live in the state. Quite frankly, the IU fans are almost like, I don't know how to react.
Yeah,
but there were 80,000 Indiana Hoosiers in the Rose Bowl. It was 80%. It was 80% Indiana Hoosiers in the Rose Bowl. Now, Iowa State travels well. That's insane. That was absolutely insane.
Well, that's a good segue. Iowa State, man, we do have Coach Walden coming on, but there he is.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Coach.
Is he
Well,
coming
sir,
on?
how are you?
There he is.
For an old dog, I couldn't be better. Good to
right?
see you both.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes, sir. You too, Coach.
Sorry, I couldn't help you more on that thing. I'm clueless on that kind of stuff too. So,
Well, you're when you get somebody my age fooling around with these kind of things, you got to know there's some slippage. I didn't grow up with a computer in my damn hand.
all right. Neither do we. It's fun. Coach, I really appreciate you popping on with us. This is fantastic. I have always admired you from, being a part of, when you first showed up. I was in the Olsen building on the first day when you showed up there, and I wasn't able to play, and I was off 1 year of still doing my undergrad, but then I had the honor of being able to coach with you. I'll never forget the opportunity that I had to go. I went down to Tennessee and I met with Johnny Majors, and I met with Barry Switzer, and I came home and you said, "Well, how'd it go?" I said, "Great." And he goes, "Well, why don't you want to coach here?" I'm like, "Shit, I did." And he offered me the job, and I started it. It was fantastic. I mean, it was an honor to work with you, and I've always loved your spirit and your take on a lot of things. And then Kent has a different. I think Kent's dad from down in Bloomfield.
Yeah, you had lunch with my dad, and Ron Rubin pretty well.
You bet.
Yeah, Ron was.
Yeah, all those guys, and you have a tendency to, as you get older, and you don't hear their names a lot, and you're not around them as much. It's just like with Ron. That all of a sudden that triggers a memory, and I'm getting the same way with my players. You'd think, well, you'd remember all your players. Well, I remember a lot of them, but I was amazed when I was going back through my files, because I've kept a file on every year I was coaching. I kept the not only the kids when they were freshmen, in other words, my first when they were coming in as the first year. I also kept up with who graduated, who didn't, and who was still with me at the end. And it's been so fun since Keith, since you wanted to do this. I've gone back through my records, and it's just, you forget about Mike Bush, and you forget about Blaze Bryant and Marcus Robinson and them. So when you go back to seeing them, it kind of makes me smile. I've been smiling for 2 or 3 days just thinking about guys like that. And it's been kind of fun getting ready to be on the show.
Well, we were talking about who would be a perfect person at the timing of what's going on in college football than really yourself. I mean, Coach, I know you won't do it. I'm going to brag on you. I mean, you fought, you went toe to toe with the NC2A. I mean, you were dealt a deck of cards that was impossible. I've had discussions with different people who are in sales that are Iowa State folks, and I'm like, imagine having a budget that you have in sales, and you have to hit this number by the end of the year. But oh, by the way, you only get to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You don't get to work Thursday and Friday, but you got to get it done. And that's what you were dealt with. You had 60% of the players that the other schools had 100%. And look what you did. You did a hell of a job, 5-6, 6-5, and the NCAA hamstrung you. I'd love to hear you talk about just your communication or the things you did with the NC2A during that time, because that was bullshit what they did to you.
Well, let me start this off. When SMU got put what we call put in jail, a lot of players, a lot of fans have no idea what I'm talking about. Once upon a time, SMU, the NC2A, took SMU out of the competition for cheating. And I hope those Southern Methodist people out there are mad at me for saying that, but it's the truth. And so they denied them to play for 2 years.
Right.
And then when they let them come back, they were allowed to go out and get 50 players. They could maintain what they had, then add some freshmen, but they could not exceed a total of 50. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because in 1987, when I went out on the field in the fall of 1987, I had 57 scholarship players. And so you say, well, my goodness, why? Well, the coach before me had done a good job in a sense of keeping a group, but he had lost 26 seniors off that team. And the punishment for me was that I could not bring in but 10 freshmen as a recruit. I had to suffer his penalties, so to speak. So that's why we do it. And so on a day-to-day basis, Keith, you remember we might have 40, 42 guys out for practice. And no one will probably, well, everybody who might be listening to this would tell, we didn't have enough scholarship players. So in every practice, you have a scout team running plays against the guys that's going to play. And if you'll remember, we didn't have enough offensive players to send down to the defense to run plays. So how did you do it? Well, the second team defense had to line up as offensive players, and they held up cards and they ran a play. And that's how we did it. And it was, I still feel so much gratitude for the Stoniaks and some of the guys. I had 10 seniors. Can you imagine that? A Division I football team with 10 seniors, all I had left. That was left from the thing before.
Right.
And but it was a hard year, but the guys played their butts off, did all they could. We won 3 or 4 games, I think. I can't remember at least. And I have always had great admiration for those guys. And probably under today's standards, Keith, hell, they would have all left. I probably wouldn't have found I wouldn't have had a guy there, but at least I could have brought in 75 guys to fill the spot.
Right. I mean, that's exactly right. That was kind of where I was going with this. Was if that was today, you'd have gone out and found 75 guys, brought them into the portal, brought them into the school, and you'd have been up and running and at least playing with even number of bodies, as opposed to, I mean, I remember going down to Nebraska. I think it was my second year. We go down to Nebraska, and they have 8 sets of offensive linemen warming up for the game. They had 40 offensive linemen warming up.
Well, they had more guys on defense than I had on my team. Right. But one of the great stories that I'll share with you and your people and your folks and your listeners and viewers, we go to Iowa that year, and Hayden was of the old school of very suspicious. I mean, that was just him. I loved him dearly, but he was of that old Cloney school where something's going on. I know it. And so he had a guy, I think maybe 2 of his grad assistants would check the roster of my team. In other words, they'd go out and write down, running backs, their 6. And then they wanted to make sure that the team they were playing had the people where they were supposed to be. So he tells me this later. I didn't know it's in. But so he gets these 2 grad assistants, and they come in and they say, Coach, there's only 41 guys out there on the field warming up. And right away he says, well, there's something going on. Walden's trying to play a trick here. They didn't bring some of the guys out, so he's up to something. And he said, you guys got to get out there and go around and kind of look at their dressing room and see if you can see any other guys stretching or warming up or something. He's pulling something. So eventually we come out, storming out of the dressing room, our bold 40, and so the grad assistants, unbeknownst to me at that time, are standing down at our gate counting as best they could to see if there was more than the 41 that they had warmed up. And he went over and told Coach Fry, telling me, said the kid came over and says, Coach, something's wrong. They only got 40. That's everyone. And Hayden says, well, he must have disciplined a lot of guys because they didn't know at the time. I guess I didn't have it. Yeah. But I took 41 guys, 2 buses. Probably the only time in college football history that a football team has traveled to another place and got them all on 2 buses. But, I mean, it was an interesting time to have that few players. But I tell you, the ones we had played their butts off.
Yes, they did. Yes,
Coach, if I may,
go ahead.
I was done in 85, so you came a couple years after. And the one thing I noticed from a former player and at that time and a fan perspective was what you had that limited roster. You in particular, it was awesome to see as a former player, a coach fight that hard. And you did it on game day too. You were so emotional and so much fun to watch and so creative. Your punt teams, amazing. I mean, you had a whole offense on your punt fakes and everything, but I guess what I would ask is finding the wherewithal to fight like that. I thought for a fan base and a former that was so inspiring, and I think it changed the whole complexion of a roster of 40 into like, hey, you know what? Because you won some games, by the way. So I just wanted to hear some of your thoughts on just that spirit you had there was incredible.
Well, I think that comes from being fortunate enough to having played sports my whole life. I mean, really, literally coming from a little one-horse town, Aberdeen, Mississippi, where we probably didn't have but 200 in the top 4 grades. I think my senior year in high school, we had 33 players on our senior football team. And so you played both ways. You learned to compete. Then I move on into college, and don't look now, my last 2 years of college football, we were still having to play both ways. They would go on to one platoon football, as we call it. So I grew up from the time I was a sophomore playing quarterback at Aberdeen, then went to a junior college because I only weighed 151 pounds, and ended up getting a scholarship that could have gone several places. I'm bragging. But I ended up wanting to take the experience to Wyoming. Best decision I ever made, because it ended up getting me one of the assistant's jobs at the University of Nebraska with Coach Devaney, and we won some championships. But what it was, it teaches you to compete. And so when I was coaching, I felt the same way as when I was playing. You got to get out there, man. You got to go play. And I tried to make that first and second year at Iowa State using no excuses. Now, I fought the NCAA hard to try to rectify the problem, but I wasn't going to take that into the dressing room. In the dressing room, we're going to fight our butts off. I mean, we don't have many, and we're going to fight our tails off. I remember, Keith, you remember this. I'm probably the only football head coach in the country that ever ran a kickoff team with 9 walk-ons. I mean, our kickoff team, we had a scholarship safety, and I think that was Marcus. Marcus Robinson was our safety, and Shudak was the kicker. Well, both of those two guys are on scholarship. The other 9 guys were walk-ons, and they did it unbelievably well. I mean, so they were proud of it. It made us proud. We recognized them. Couldn't give them all scholarships for a while because they counted against your 30. But it was things like that it just inspired all of us. And the guys that did have scholarships felt they had to work hard because we had so many non-scholarship guys that were playing so hard. Yeah. So part of that was just the competitiveness of believing in yourself. Don't give in to some, okay, there's not enough of us. We only got a few. But what is that old thing? The few, the proud, and the brave. That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
You just had to
Jimmy Dorn and Jeff Bauer and Jeff Dole. And I mean, holy gosh. You just
Jim. Remember Jim and Lant Doran?
Yeah.
We had those brothers. And I've got a picture of them. I got a picture in a circle like a graduating class. John Fabrics did that for me.
Yeah.
And we've got little pictures of each one of them. I got 12 pictures of those guys. And they played their butts off. I'll give them credit for that and did some good things for us.
So just a little bit about what's going on today with the portal and let's say you're the coach, right? And you've got the portal's going to open up and you've got 25 kids that go, I'm going to go into the portal. What kind of conversation do you have with those kids?
That's a damn good question because I've been asking that same question of people that I think are smarter than I am as we see today's world. I truly don't know if I know. Here I coached for 31 years. I was a head coach for 26. I truly can tell you both that I don't know what they're doing right now. I couldn't tell you now. Up until the portal, I knew what was going on. You out as soon as the season's over, you're recruiting. 8 coaches are out scattered all over America. You're bringing them in on the weekends. You got guys at your other parts of your staff coming together. You get them out for dinner. You're doing all this selling Iowa State. And then they go home and you keep fighting the battles and get 22 to 23 of them signed up. And then you get on with your life. Well, that's not the case now. I hear things like, just take the Ole Miss situation. They got the coaches coaching at Ole Miss, but they've all signed up to play LSU. Well, the problem is LSU wants the coaches down there because they got to be working on the portal. Mm-hmm. There are 4,500 kids. A week ago signed, or 3 days ago, whatever it was, to go in the portal. So that tells me then, what are you doing, Keith? And what am I doing as a coach? Sitting around the office looking at other people's film to look up somebody that you need, a DB that you see in the portal. Now, in the meantime, what about that freshman group up in Marshalltown that you want to recruit him? So how much time are you giving to him? How much time are you going to Cedar Rapids to talk to 2 kids over there that you're interested in? So I don't know how they're doing it. I swear to God, I don't know. I think it's horrible. I think it's not fair. You told me to have a couple of questions about my feelings. I'll get to those towards the end. But as of right now, I just think it's a horrible situation that we've allowed ourselves, whoever allowed it. And I know who allowed it because we had a basketball player appeal for the NIL, and that's what got it started. Because I forget what they called it, but they were using his image to sell something, and that's what got all this started. But in the meantime, it's got to put some brakes on. But I truly couldn't answer that question. What would I be doing? I don't know if I'd be spending all my time in the office looking at ex-players from somebody else's team, or would I be working like heck to talk to the recruits that are coming in And so I really admire the coaches that they're getting good pay. They're getting paid well for it, which was a little bit better than what we got. But you don't want to get into that. But it's a tough job right now. I really believe that, trying to sort out who and what you're doing.
Coach, not only that, excuse me, Keith.
Go ahead.
No, what conversations are they having? I mean, do they, typically when you'd go out and recruit, you'd sell your academics, you'd sell your student life, you'd sell your campus. Those things even matter anymore? I mean, you never hear about academic casualties. They're completely non-existent. Either students have gotten way better, which maybe they have, but it's just a non-factor. Are you recruiting on the basis of your integrity of your program, or are you just out there just flipping dollar bills? I mean, those are the questions what are we teaching kids?
Well, let's take Jimmy Rogers. Okay. A year ago, he's just about the same time a year ago, he shows up at Washington State. In the process of showing up at Washington State, he finds out he might not have 20 guys on campus. And he had more guys in the portal than he had left over, so to speak, in the dressing room. So what did he do? He and his staff somehow or another found they brought some from South Dakota State, I think 17 or 18. But in total, he had to bring in 75 guys. All right. Now, how are you going to put a team together? They don't know each other. It's like spring ball and then fall ball. Well, fall ball is just a high end of spring ball. But in the meantime, you got 20 days to get ready to play a football game that your fans are going to pay to come and see and expect you to win. Now, hold it right there. That same Jimmy Rogers is now at one of my favorite places in the world, Iowa State. I read the other day where something like 56 or 7 guys have left. So that tells me Jimmy Rogers, bless his heart, has got to do the same thing all over. So how is he doing it? Well, there's only one way to do it. You devote almost your entire time to the portal. Now he knows he looked up and he said, we got 2 DBs left that have said they will stay. Well, I need 10. I need 12. So first thing you do is you get your secondary coach, and he's spending 12 hours a day looking at tapes on names of kids that are DBs. So that's all he's looking for, DBs. And so every coach is having to do exactly that. Instead of getting on with the refreshment of bringing in good young kids and excitable freshmen, seniors out there hoping they'll get a chance to play. And so that's the new world of what coaches have to do. And doggone it, I just feel bad for them because, you just don't like having, and it'll get better because the new coach out here, thank goodness some of Jimmy's guys decided to stay. Now, I know some decided to go with him, and I think that goes on everywhere, just like Matt. Some of Matt's guys that Iowa State's gone to Penn State and some state. The thing that I asked the head coach, we had him on my talk show that I do every Saturday morning. I asked him first time we had a chance to have him on, and you'll enjoy this question. I asked him, I said, let me ask you a question. When I see on Facebook, for instance, that an athlete at Iowa State or at Washington State has elected to stay, you guys have seen this, he's going to re-sign. Now, gosh dang it, guys, what does re-sign mean? He was already on scholarship. So now here's what Jimmy Rogers has got to do. And Nick Saban said the same thing. Jimmy Rogers got to sit in his office, and in comes last year's left guard. Instead of saying to the left guard, son, we really love the way you played last year. We're glad you're going to be here. So have a good fall. We'll get back to you, blah, 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 pat him on the back. No, that's not what you do. He comes in, he sits down, we're glad you're staying. And he says to Jimmy Rogers, I'm going to need at least $300,000. So, I mean, so now coaches sitting in their office trying to talk those guys who are already there. What will it cost to keep you here? It's just like a business. It's like you were working in engineering and you had an opportunity to go to another place. And the boss of your engineering company says, Keith, I can't let you go, man. What would it take to keep you here? Now, that's what we've heard our whole lives. That's what productivity does. That's why you excel. That's why you try to be the best. For that very reason, that people will fight to keep you doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
But now I said, well, so I asked him, I said, Kirby, what about the guy that didn't get in the portal? And he just says, I'm just going to stay. Does every kid have to come in and talk? Or some kids just say, I'm staying. I got a scholarship. That's why I'm staying. But that's what's going on. And I like Nick Saban said, hey, I didn't get in this business to negotiate with players about salaries. I got in this business to try to make you better and get on with it.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch Kirby Smart's comment the other day? I think it might have been yesterday when they were talking to him about players, kind of starting to negotiate or starting to talk about where they're going. And one guy's starting to get ready. Another guy's talking about, I'm going to jump in the portal here. Or I'm jumping in the portal there. Or I need this here. Or I need that there. And Kirby Smart says, how about you just get better? How about taking the time and just get better instead of not being happy where you're at and I'm going to quit because I only got to play 65 plays this year. I'm going to quit and go someplace else. How about just work on your time and work on your craft and just get better? Finally, a coach that comes up and says, maybe hits these kids in the nose a little bit, because I got to believe 75% of these kids that leave and go into the portal are going to a lesser opportunity and will see the same amount of playing time because their habits aren't going to change.
Well, according to my records, there were somewhere around 1,500 last year that didn't get back. Now,
oh my God.
Where the problem comes is that by law, by rule, you can go back to your school. But so many of them, once they get into the portal, guys, feel like, I don't want to go back. I'm embarrassed. So what it ended up was something like 1,500 football players ended up without something anywhere. So you walk away from a room, board, books, tuition, $30,000 scholarship for nothing, for no place to go. And unfortunately, you hit on it, Keith, and there are too many guys that haven't paid the price to be better than they are that thinks moving will make that happen. So they're saying to themselves, I should be playing. My dad told me I should. My coach told me I should. So I'm going to leave because these guys aren't treating me right. And 99% of the time, that's a bunch of junk. They're on second team because they're second teamers. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to be ashamed of that. You're contributing. You're playing. But if you take that attitude, I'm going to go somewhere else, then I'll be a star or I'll be a starter. That doesn't always work out.
Mm-mm. I know, Coach. Speaking of the times when I played, and I've rarely played, the thing that I always built on was, and Coach Thomas taught me this a long time ago, is you just got to be the very best teammate you can be.
Exactly.
And everybody has a role. There's no job too small on a team, but for whatever reason, something's lost in translation over the last 30 years where kids just they've been held to such a high standard for so long, from junior high football to travel football to whatever else is out there, social media or whatever. They don't know what it's like to fail. And I think I don't know. Kids need to learn that failure is not a bad thing. It's just a step to learning how to win.
Well, I think the bad side of all this is that we're allowing young men. What the portal has done is set a bad precedent that it's not the effort you have to give that counts anymore. Then guys that would stick around for 3 years and start for one and be so excited because they did it. I mean, the joy of being a first-year starter in a 4-year school, I mean, having been there. These young men today will not experience that because they are running from competition. Is that a good way to say it?
Heck yeah, that's a great way.
If you're not playing a lot, or if you don't think you're the right guy, they run to the next place. And you see that by the fact that when you see a guy's been to 3 different schools, and you're just like, my goodness, boy, why don't you just stay someplace and make a stand? And
Coach,
yes.
Excuse me. No, sir, I'm sorry. I was going to ask you, do you think it would be beneficial to limit the amount of transfers without penalty? Because it's, you can theoretically, I mean, it's unlimited right now. Because I contend that these are the kids of today are going to be our business leaders, our politicians, our teachers, our athletic directors, our coaches, and they're learning the wrong things. Like you said, they're running from competition. Is there a way to limit that? Is that something that you would see feasible? They get 1 transfer, and then after that, there has to be a penalty or something.
Absolutely. It's one of the questions that I have put down here. I have 2, so I'll address that one right now because that's pretty close. My feeling is that for every football player that really knows to teach him a lesson of life that he is going to have to learn, that you don't just pick up and walk away when you're not happy with your job. In 99% of the cases, there's a fee. Just take the NFL. There's a fee. Anytime a coach leaves, he pays a fee. So my point being, and it's got to come sooner than later, every football player that stays at Iowa State University for 1 year and decides to leave for more money. Now, a guy that transfers and goes in the portal without any money, he just goes from Iowa State to Kansas State, and he just goes from scholarship to scholarship. Okay, fine. But my feeling is that there's got to be a fee paid to Iowa State for the transfer, because that's the fee you pay not to sit out, right? Because right now they don't have to sit out. Like in my era,
Right.
You transferred, you had to sit out a year. So that slowed it down. All right. So the kid that doesn't go for money has still got to refund Iowa State. And the guy that goes for money, I don't care if he was there 1 year or 2, he has to write Iowa State a check for the total amount of money that they paid for him while he was there, because they have trained him or he wouldn't have left. They put money out. They paid a scholarship for him. They paid room, board, books, tuition fees, and an unlimited amount of food. And so when he leaves for a better pasture, get ready to write a check. So now if he's going to, I don't care if he's going to get $300,000, if that's what he does, but the first amount of money he writes, the first check before he can leave town, has got to be X number of dollars to Iowa State University. Now, you want to talk about slowing the process down, that's going to slow it down some.
Yes.
Because, and that's the way life is for all of us.
That's right.
We have to pay a fee to get out of things, to get out of the rent, to get out of this. And so these guys think they can just come in, let you train me to be a great player. And then I think, okay, that's good. Now I got Joe Doe. He did a good job. I can use him as a reference. And then I'm going to go down here to Virginia and play. Well, that's one of my deals. And I just don't think, if you really want to be fair to this business that we're running now, that's part of the business. You pay a fee for what you're paying a school a fee for the training, period. You're paying for the training.
And
Hey,
I
Coach,
think they should have to play.
We're going to take a quick break here. We got to go sell something here real quick. And we'll come back, I think, in about a minute or so. We'll pop out. Sean, you ready to pop us off to our advertisers and our folks and our sponsors? That'd be great.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
In the heart of Des Moines, one name has stood above the rest: Iowa Beef Steakhouse. Step inside, and you enter a place where tradition still matters, where the atmosphere feels familiar, warm, and unmistakably Iowa. Service isn't rushed. It's personal, attentive, and rooted in genuine care. And before the main event, the freshest start in the city, our signature salad bar, crafted every single day. Then comes the reason people have returned for generations: Iowa beef, hand-seasoned with pride. Guided by flame, forged by heat. This is where flavor becomes legend. Served with the same care it was crafted with, a meal meant to be remembered. And whether the night calls for bold, smooth, or something in between, our bar offers a selection as rich as our history, including the old-fashioned we've become known for: balanced, timeless, unforgettable. And long after the fire cools, the glow of this place stays with you. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, where Iowa comes for steak, done right.
Hey, welcome back. Coach, that was awesome. We went on for like 35 minutes. That was fantastic stuff. I knew it'd be good with what you got, all the things you've gone through. And when did you get to Washington State?
Well, my first year at Washington State, I went with Warren Powers. He was an assistant coach at Nebraska with me, and he got the job. At that time, I was coaching at the University of Miami, and I had a great chance to go be a coordinator at Miami. After when Tom Osborne became the head coach at Nebraska, we were all coaching together. And so I left with the offensive line coach to go work for Pete Elliott in Miami. And then in the next year, or 4 years later, Warren got the job at Washington State. That was 1977. So I went out with him as an assistant coach. And he left, of course, to go to Missouri after 1 year, and I got the head job. So that was 1978 when I got my first head job at Washington State. Came to Iowa State in 87.
Wow. Yeah, that was this. So you had the throwing Samoan, Jack. Oh yeah,
Jack Thompson.
Yeah.
Jack Thompson. I had some pretty good quarterbacks. Somehow Washington State has become a pretty good quarterback school, and I had my share. And I think had Mark Rippon was one of mine, and so we did okay. Well, sometimes I wish we'd have played. We had better guards, and we had a good quarterback. We didn't always have good left guards, but we did all right.
And then, so you got to Iowa State. I think 87, like you said. You had Derek DeGennaro and Brett Sadik, and you had John Kiska, and Joe Henderson was on that team then.
I've got some. Pardon me. Let me put my glasses on. But here's some guys. I thought it'd be just kind of fun. This was a good group of some of the accumulation of several years. But I thought our people would remember them. I know they were guys that I thought just did a remarkable job for us while we were there. Mike Bush, great tight end. Brett Oberg was probably the best quarterback we had until Peterson came along, and then Pete got hurt. But we all remember when Chris Peterson beat Oklahoma down there. So that was a pretty big day for him. two offensive linemen that have always been high on my list of maybe the best linemen that we had was Keith Sims and Geno Williams. Geno Williams was 260 pounds and could do a backflip in his stance. I mean, that was how agile he was. We had Joe Henderson, as you said, Blaze Bryant, an outstanding runner. And then
Coach, I got to stop you right there real quick.
You what?
I got to stop you with Blaze. I don't know if you ever knew this, but Robin Ross was supposed to get Blaze at the airport. Okay. And I'm in the Olsen building, and I just got done working out, and Coach Ross says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just going to take a shower and go on home." He goes, "I need you to get to the airport and pick up Blaze Bryant." I'm like, "Okay." Here's the van. He gave me an Iowa State van to go get him. I said, what time does he land? He goes, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I had to go.
Giving you $100 for the speeding ticket you got to get.
I had to go from the Olsen building through downtown Des Moines, down Fleur Drive to the airport. But back then you could go through security. You could go to the gate.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm walking out the door. I go, "Coach, what's he look like?" He goes, "You can't miss him." And so I got in the van, and I drove. I was over 100 miles an hour to get to the airport in time, and he comes walking off of the ramp, and his hair was all pointed up here.
I was going to say, did he have his butch haircut all back there?
He did. So anyway, I had to interrupt you. I don't know if you ever knew that story or not.
Well, I only had one more name that I'm going to throw out, and that's two reasons. One, Marvin Saller was our guy. He was the example of everything we've been talking about.
Yep.
Marvin Saller was a really below average quarterback. He was a scout team guy from the day we got him, but you'll never be around a guy with a greater attitude about competing and being out there. So all of a sudden, because of the way fate is, we get a bunch of quarterbacks hurt. So Marvin Saller is going to be the quarterback against mighty Nebraska in Ames, Iowa. So we put together a package that he could survive with. Well, don't look down. Marvin Saller beat Nebraska with, of course, some help with the other guys. But I bring that up for two reasons. One, it's always one of my fondest memories, not only that we beat Nebraska, but who did it and how it was put together. Now, bad news is, but I want to say it's gotten better. Marvin's son has really been fighting a bad case of cancer. So anybody that's got some prayers out there that have a tendency to looking for people or things to add to your prayer list, I would like for you to add Marvin's son. He is showing great improvement, which evidently some more people are already praying for him. But I just want to throw that out because I know that, and I know tremendous guy, Marvin Saller.
Yep. You know, when Marvin's at the game, I think he goes to all the games. He still is. People are still patting him on the back. He'll go down. He'll go down in Iowa State history as one of those guys. You know, the loyal sons. You know, and I love that about our fight song, "Loyal Sons Forever True," right. And how apropos that is for Marvin and the whole group of guys that played for you from day one until they were done. They continued on. You didn't have people leave. You didn't have people quitting or going saying I'm done or whatever. They kept playing and they kept playing. They kept showing up. People knew that you're gonna get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
And
I had good assistants, and you loved them. You were around them. They thought the world of you, and they cared about the guys at Iowa State. When they weren't always looking to leave.
Nope.
I had about maybe two to leave from the time while I was there, and believe me, it wasn't because they couldn't go. Yeah. They turned down jobs, and I knew it. And in fact, I encouraged them. After those first couple of years, I said, "You guys need to get out of here because we're all going to get fired." Because the fans don't always know the problems you're going through with the numbers. Right. It doesn't relate to them. They're busy doing their own business. And so I knew, and I told the president, I said, unfortunately, you probably, Max, you're at the same thing. I said, God rest his soul. But I said, you probably have to end up firing me here in about 4 years because of this problem. And because the general public will not understand 3 seasons from now why we aren't doing better, because they have no idea from where we've started. And so that's just the way life is. It's still going on, and nobody has to put up with that anymore. But one last thing I did say about that scholarship. Remember that, Keith? They went from 90 to 85. So I got hit from every angle, but it got through it. We got through it. It didn't, it was a good career, and I enjoyed every day of being there. And we stayed 18 years in Ames, Iowa, because I had a nice home on the river, the Skunk River, and it was good. But I have one more thing I want to get in. Go back to that point. You asked me about having something to talk about in terms of the way things are today. I want to add one thing that I think they should also. Not only do I think you should make kids that transfer pay if they're in the play business, but I do think you should reward every one of those that don't go. I think there's every school at Iowa State University, if you have 7 football players who came to Iowa State as freshmen, and even though you may have paid them some money during the way, if they stay through their eligibility, just to be good people, write them a check. I don't care if it's $5,000 a piece, but it's a bonus for staying, for what you said a while ago, being a loyal son. Mm-hmm. And I do think those are the 2 things that I really think they should consider.
Coach, can I ask you a question about this current situation, bowl games? I contend that a lot of the bowl games have become extremely irrelevant because of the playoff system. And going back to the pay for play, if you do get paid, you should have to play in all the games. And you can't just opt out. That really soured with me and a lot of people, I believe. I kind of understand some of the problems with the selection, but if you get paid $1 million and you just can't say, I don't want to play, and you're the team leader, doesn't the school take a $500,000 penalty? That's soured.
I agree. 2 things here. I think we got too many bowls now, so somebody needs to pull a plug on ESPN. They can't have a bowl game every day for 30 days. They may think they can, but it's going to get to be a combination of what you just said. Secondly, I think that no football player should get his entire amount of money while he's playing. There should be some money set aside. You go to the bowl game, you get the whole package. You don't go to the bowl game, you don't get paid. Because that's what it boils down to. They're getting paid to play. And we need to get that through our heads. These are not just some innocent guys that's out there playing for the loyalty of Iowa State. They're getting paid. So face it and get off this thing. We're only supporting these kids anymore because we love Iowa State. We'll always support whatever 11 guys or 50 guys run out there representing Iowa State. We're going to support them. That year, that team, that day. But as far as falling in love with our running back, don't do it. He may leave next year. So, but my point, and I agree with you 100%. One, we got too many bowls. At least, I'm going to say 10 too many. I'll hold it at that. I just hadn't having a chance to look. I think we got, 35, 40 bowls. So we need to drop about 10 of them. And when you start having to take five win teams to bowl games, you got too many. Okay. And so that is one thing. And then secondly, I agree totally that you don't want to play, that's fine, but it's going to cost you money. With 13 guys don't want to go to the ball game. And we'll take Kansas State. They didn't want to go to a bowl. Notre Dame. Well, everybody at Notre Dame, unfortunately, boys, you're going to get docked for not going. Now, if the school makes that decision, then they got to pay the $500,000. It's not the player's fault. But That's the way I feel about that. Is that One, we got too many, and second, you got to pay a price if you decide you don't want to play.
I had one other point that I wanted to kind of just touch base, not so much around that, but around where the state of college football is with the NIL, and it's really not NIL, it's pay for play. Let's call it what it really is. You're paying people. And it seems now that it's kind of balancing the field. It seems to me like there's more parity in college football now because you can pay them something, whereas before, when Auburn would bring in 16 defensive linemen so nobody else would draft them or give them a scholarship or whatever it might be. It seems like we're having a flattening of the top teams in college football. And one area that I look at, and the SEC's record in bowls this past year was not very good. And it hasn't been for the last several years. I think they've made such a huge mistake with this pay for play and this NIL and this revenue share. Nobody can keep up with the Big Ten. I mean, they're the wealthiest schools that are out there.
Well, my feeling about that is nothing's changed. Now, let me explain. When I was recruiting, here was you had to know what you're up against. Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, that's just starters. And you had USC, UCLA, then you had Oklahoma and Texas, and then you had at least 4 teams in the SEC. Well, that's boom, boom. What else has changed? So now we get to the same teams. Now we're all got money. Well, who do you think's got all the money? Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. So in that sense, Keith, it's the same. But there's one thing that's changed that's helping. There's some schools that, like Texas Tech, that it's not in that, quote, charter group, but they got money at Midland, Texas.
Yeah, right.
Those all wells pump a little money. And so I'm leading up to this. I hope that our fans are enjoying the playoffs, the last 4 as much as two sets of games. When you look tomorrow at the paper, you're not going to find Penn State or Michigan or Ohio State or Texas, Oklahoma, or Alabama, or Georgia. You're going to find Miami and Oregon, and it's a blessing because it is so much fun for some of us who've coached at not in the bubble schools to be able to see some new blood, some fun blood, and see a different group. Now, why are they there? Why is Oregon there? Because they got the best payday. They got a shoe guy that can write a check for anything he wants. And so they have earned their way through it by having equal money, which once upon a time, do you really think Oregon would have this kind of football team if they still had Washington or USC or UCLA to have to compete with? No. They would have had a good team because they got a good coach, but don't kid yourself. They wouldn't be in the Final Four in the old days. So I'm appreciative of the fact that some of the teams that are not major teams, they can compete now money-wise where none of us competed in the old days for just athletes.
I live here in Indiana, and Indiana had the worst football program in the history of college football. Proven. I mean, they had more losses than anybody. And in 2 years, Cignetti has done an amazing job, but they also have 805,000 living alumni that are now kicking money into the football program. Well,
I'm so happy for them, and believe me, I wish I knew their coach better. I don't know him at all, but I do admire him. But he's straight at you, man. I mean, he's not a lot of crap as far as what he says and how he does it. He rolls his eyes and doesn't get too excited. And one time I saw him smile. But, I mean, he's just one of those guys. But, boy, what a great job he did at James Madison. And he brought that with him to Indiana. And I agree, Keith. Bobby Knight must be turned over in his grave thinking, where was this when I was coaching?
Yeah, right.
But I just think it's absolutely wonderful that Ole Miss is in the hunt, not Georgia, not Alabama. And I don't mean to pick on them, and I'm admiring them. I respect them no end, because it's like not liking winners. When you're so happy that Georgia's not there, well, you say, well, why are you unhappy? Well, they win all the time. Well, I didn't know that. I thought we were supposed to admire winners. So, but I'm excited about the guys because it's new, it's different. It gives the nation and the Iowa State fans hope that one day maybe it'll be us.
Yeah. We've got wealthy alumni. They just, they're the farmers and they're hanging on to their money. I mean, it is what it is.
Coach, I want to ask you a question. I want to teleport you here to Ames, Iowa immediately. And let's say tomorrow you are Jimmy Rogers. Knowing where you are right now with the roster, and I don't want to pin Coach Rogers into a corner or anything like that, but just knowing how the game is, where do you start? Because you started somewhat similar in a different scenario. You didn't have the numbers. How would you rebuild in Ames right now?
The same way Matt did when he came, and the same way Jimmy did last year at Washington State. Unfortunately, he's got 1 year of experience of the same crap he's going through at Iowa State. So that gives him a little advantage. The staff that he's put together, that he brought some with him. I mean, I don't know how many that total numbers that he has put together already, but I promise you, he has a plan for how many they're going to do. He knows where to go to get the guys, whether it's South Dakota State, North Dakota State. He'll get some of those guys, and trust me, man, they know how to play. Don't ever underestimate those guys. And so he will do it exactly like he did a year ago. He'll put together a team, and I have every hope to believe that if he does as good a job for Iowa State next year as he did for Washington State this year, they should be damned excited, because nobody back there cares about checking. They care about Iowa State. But he won 6 football games for Washington State this year with an entirely new team. No, I bet he didn't have 15 guys. He did not have one defensive starter at Washington State when he took the job. So think about this. He came within 9 points of beating James Madison, Ole Miss, and I can't even think that, but they played 3 teams, 2 of which is in the final 12, and lost by a total of 21 points. On top of that, won 6 games. Now, I tell you, in my heart, they've hired, I hated it for Washington State's sake that they lost a good coach, but I really think, and I say this with all my heart, I think they've hired themselves a really good coach. And to answer your question, I think he'll just put it together like he did out here and like he did at South Dakota State and move on, because he's that type of guy. He's kind of a pretty much all business guy. He's not going to win any prizes personality-wise, but he's also going to give you a good effort with his coaching.
That is awesome. Well, our last segment is one of the things we do is you get to make a rule, and you've kind of gone into those kind of things with what your rule would be. But I'm going to kind of put Kent on the spot since Coach Walden, you already did it. Kent, I'm going to put you on the spot, and we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to let you make your rule, whatever that might be.
This is the Storm Anchor Amendment, where our guest steps behind the podium and makes one rule change to reshape college sports. No limits, no red tape, just their decree.
Let us have it, Kent.
That was a quick break. I didn't have much time to think about that. Oh my. Okay. Well, I think the one rule we kind of touched on it. I would say you get one transfer, and you get a freebie because, and I'll back up. The reason I say that is just now being in the business. I coached 30 years as well, Coach, and at a different level, small college, and I coached overseas and did some things. Had a great time, and GA'd for Mac Brown, who we're going to try to get on as a guest here.
I feel bad for you then. You had to put up with Mac Brown. Come on. No,
Mac was the reason I went to Iowa State, which is a great thing because I guess that kind of feeds into what I wanted to. When he recruited me, I went because of the values of the man and the men on that coaching staff I went because of the values of the school. If we take that out of the equation and only make it about money, that somehow has to get balanced back up. So if you have one transfer and you can transfer one time for free, there better be another damn good reason that you're going to go to that school. And if we bring that somehow back in, because let's say you've already transferred and now you're like, well, I can't transfer again and I'm stuck at this crap hole, I'm screwed. So you better have something to fall back on, the quality of the university, the academic program, the people, because if that becomes irrelevant, it's just, what are we teaching kids? What are we teaching kids? Like I said, there are business people, there are politicians, there are school teachers of the future. And if we don't bring some sort of value to them because of where they're going and only make it about money, we're screwing our own future. So I guess I would penalize after one transfer. That's my
Well,
rant.
I agree with that 100%. In fact, I could use that same rule of which I had talked about, not tonight, that you get one transfer. You get one freebie to go from here to there and not lose eligibility or not have to sit out, okay, like the old transfer rule. But you can't, if you do it the second time, you got to sit one like the old rule. So that's exactly what it would make. What you're saying, Ken, is so true. That makes you give a lot of thought about that one move. And
Yeah.
the last thing, Keith, that I will say is not a rule that I'm getting involved with your last segment, but it's a thing that makes me feel bad. When you read and almost every player you see on TV was somewhere else last year. I go, they make a tackle there. John, he was there at Wichita last year. But my point being is I feel really bad emotionally because where are these kids, where's their loyalty going to be when they finally are done? And they've been to 3 schools. Which one is their Iowa State? I mean, which one is their Michigan? I mean, I just feel like we've got to help these young men better than we're helping them because all they know right now is money. And I just think there's got to be some smarter people than me sit down and discuss these things. What are we doing to the youth of America, period, into this one segment of athletes?
I think about the times when we go back, and I think it was like maybe 2010 or so. We had a letter winners weekend, and we had like 50 guys total. Mm-hmm. And we put a board member together. We put a group of other people together. Jamie hired a letter winners person to manage it and to build a group of people to work on getting the loyal sons brought back together, because from Johnny Majors through yourself and Mac and up to Matt Campbell, they were 4 or 5 years and they were gone. 4 or 5 years and they were gone. 4 or 5, and you never had any consistency through that. And over the course of this last 15, 18 years, we have over 500 guys come back for letter winners weekend. And when you sat in the tent that day, we sat there, we talked, we saw all the different guys from all the different eras. And it was nice to be able to be back and go, our fight song says it right. Loyal sons forever true. And I just think these kids today just are missing that. Our Coach Thomas, he was a brilliant man. And he taught me a long time ago, you quit one thing, you'll quit anything. You just made it a habit. And I know some of them different reasons, but.
Well, I'll give you one example of when Bob Devaney was at Wyoming. He was there for 5 years. Our reunion was called the Bob Devaney years. And you could, on the front end and back end, we allowed, some guys who were there with him for 3 years, even though we were talking about graduates. We met the first time after 20 years. Well, because it's a little harder, you're working and you can't get there, and I'm coaching. But anyway, from that year, that point on, we met every 3. That's how much we enjoyed seeing each other as far as all the guys. It wasn't just who played in 1959 and 60. It was Bob Devaney. Were you here during Bob Devaney's years? And that's what the center point was. And it was one of the best things I've had happen in my lifetime, that I never lost track of all the guys that I played football with at the University of Wyoming. I was still going to reunions when I was 70 years old. And that's a wonderful thing. Now I worry about who's going to go to these reunions. What you were saying, you got 500 guys. 10 years from now, you might have 32 if they don't pick it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Coach, I will tell you this, go back to the letter winners weekends, and you've been to one for sure, maybe two. And I will tell you, the guys that played for you during your years at Iowa State are still, they all come back. And they it's by far the biggest group of players that come back played during your era. And I think that's a testament to you and the things that you did for Iowa State. And for me as a loyal son, and Kent as a loyal son, I can't thank you enough for what you did.
Yeah,
Well,
Coach, I'm gonna tag on to that, but I didn't get the opportunity to play for you. But I can tell you, and I don't think you get enough credit. Well, you do get a lot of credit, but I don't think you probably hear it enough. You saved Iowa State football. You saved it.
Yep.
And you made it happen. Without you and your passion and your ingenuity and all you had to do. And I know running scout teams, probably like coaching a high school team with 41 kids, and you had to have your defensive segment, but you saved Iowa State football. You truly did, Coach, and you deserve all the credit. And I would have loved to have played for you. I tell you that. You wouldn't have gotten. You wouldn't have gotten much.
Just because they show up doesn't necessarily mean they love playing for you. You better check with them.
Yeah,
when they're doing all those up downs.
Though.
Yeah, when Lindsey Hughes was making them do all those up downs and all those 5:30 runs in the morning, you might
the Cobra.
You might not have liked it, but I appreciate the kind words, Kent. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Both of you.
You bet. Well, Coach, it is Sunday night, and you've spent a good portion of your evening with us, and I really appreciate that, and especially on short notice. We're going to come back. We're going to be on about every 2 weeks with another guest with some other history with Iowa State, whether it be an assistant coach, a full-time coach, a head coach, a player, or somebody that just has ties to Iowa State, because we're going to track the storm with the loyal sons.
Well, I think it'll be fun, and you deserve a big pat on the back, both of you, for doing it. And as the old saying goes, well, I heard a guy say this one time, well, the only audience they have is Iowa State. I said, that's the only one they want. So anyway, I wish you both luck. Have a great time, and let's all have a really new year, and keep that basketball team rolling, man. They're pretty good back there.
Yes,
They're doing great.
See you later.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Coach. Wow.
That was awesome.
What a guy.
What a guy.
I know you work for him, and I've met him on a couple occasions, and he would have been a guy that you'd have loved to play for. And I'm sure
I sat in a meeting. I was on the offensive staff, and he comes into the offensive staff room, and he says, "Guys, shut off the projector. Come into the defensive room. You got to see this." And we're getting ready to play Oklahoma State. So we all pile into the defensive staff room, and we're sitting there, and he turns on the projector, and they're showing the last bit of the film of Oklahoma State versus, I think it was Nebraska. And Coach Walden says, "Offensive guys, you have got to figure out a way to make sure that guy doesn't get on the field. You got to make sure that Thurman Thomas stays on the field, because we don't want to face him." And he did not play in the game other than kickoff returns. But Thurman Thomas had 293 yards and some odd number of touchdowns. I remember what it was. But it was a hell of a game that I remember him seeing the foresight of seeing Barry Sanders and making sure he was off the field.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that was a great one. And we had a lot of people commenting, a lot of our former teammates.
That's awesome.
Kevin Max Eggleston, Jeff Wadka commenting on there, and a lot of great folks. And we appreciate everybody listening in. We will try to, if we can work the calendar out, we'll get Coach Mac Brown on here. Mac Coach was an assistant at Iowa State, and obviously in the Hall of Fame. So we'll get that scheduled and put out. Coach has agreed. We just got to come up with a schedule. He'll be a fantastic guest. He recruited me and recruited you.
Yeah.
And that'll be a fun one to listen to and have on, because his time of names was quite memorable as well. And a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, for all of you that are out there that are, listening in, or if you could like our page on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, that'd be fantastic. If you've got suggestions of people you'd like to see us try to get on, we'd love to do it. We're here for you guys. We love talking to them, and Chris Shipley was kind enough to give us a platform on Three Beards Media to be able to have a podcast to talk about old times and the loyal sons of Iowa State. And then with that, Sean, I think you can pop us out.
We're tracking the storm, watching it form from Crutchfield's grind to Troy's 2K storms. Seneca spinning through the rain and roar, turning third and long to forevermore. From Jack's I will to the Campbell years, we build up hope out of heartbreaking tears. Yeah, the line holds strong and the faith's reborn. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Here comes Johnny Orr, fist up in the air. Tonight's show theme and that Hilton stare. Took a quiet Coliseum, turned it into a spare. Where top 25 giants learn to fear this well. Hilton magic swirling like a cyclone wind. We're nine on the pivot, made the rafters spin. Step back, jumper, drive down the